The life of Job. In the ancient land of Uz, nestled between rolling hills and vast golden plains, there lived a man named Job. He was a figure of immense respect, not only for his great wealth, but for his unshakable faith in God. Job's estate was sprawling, with fields dotted by thousands of sheep grazing under the sun, herds of oxen pulling ploughs through fertile soil, and camels laden with goods for trade. His house stood tall, a symbol of prosperity, always abuzz with laughter and music, as his 10 children often gathered to celebrate life. Job's life was ordered and righteous. Every morning, as the sun cast its golden light over the horizon, Job rose to offer sacrifices to God. He did this not only for himself, but for his children, fearing that in their hearts they might have sinned unknowingly. His devotion was unwavering, his reverence a beacon in the land of Uz. The Heavenly Council. Far beyond the boundaries of earth, in the heavenly realms, a council was convening. The angels, radiant and glorious, assembled before God. Among them came one whose presence seemed to darken the divine light. Satan, the adversary. "Have you considered my servant Job?" God asked, his voice resonating with pride. "There is no one on earth like him, blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." Satan sneered, his eyes narrowing. "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not placed a hedge of protection around him and blessed the work of his hands? Take away all he has, and surely he will curse you to your face." God, confident in Job's faithfulness, allowed Satan to test him. "Very well," God said. "Everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself, do not lay a finger." The storm of loss. On a day like any other, Job sat in the shade of his house, enjoying the soft breeze as it rustled the leaves of the olive trees. Suddenly, a servant came running, his face pale with fear. "Master," he cried, "the Sabaeans attacked. They stole your oxen and donkeys and killed the servants tending them. I alone have escaped to tell you." Even as Job was processing this, another servant burst in. "Fire from the heavens!" he shouted, trembling. "It consumed the sheep and the servants with them. I alone survived to bring you this news." Before Job could respond, a third servant arrived, his voice shaking. "The Chaldeans formed raiding parties. They've taken your camels and killed your servants. I'm the only one left." And then came the final blow. A servant stumbled in, tears streaming down his face. "Your children," he wept. "They were feasting in their eldest brother's house. A mighty wind swept in from the desert. The house collapsed, and they are all dead." Job's heart broke. He tore his robe and shaved his head, a sign of deep mourning. Yet even in his grief he fell to the ground in worship. His voice was heavy but resolute as he declared, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." The second test, Satan, defeated by Job's faith, returned to the heavenly court. "Skin for skin," he argued. "A man will give all he has for his life. Stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you." God allowed Satan to afflict Job physically, but forbade him from taking Job's life. Soon after, Job was struck with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. His once proud figure became frail and disfigured. He sat among ashes, scraping his wounds with a piece of broken pottery, his moans of pain filling the air. Even his wife, overwhelmed by the sight of her suffering husband, cried out, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." But Job rebuked her gently, his voice steady despite his agony. "Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" The arrival of friends. News of Job's suffering spread, and 3 of his friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, came to console him. When they saw him from a distance, they scarcely recognized the man who had once been so vibrant. Overwhelmed with grief, they wept aloud, tore their robes, and sprinkled dust on their heads. For 7 days and 7 nights they sat with Job in silence, sharing his sorrow. The only sounds were the crackling of the fire and the occasional whisper of the wind. Finally, Job broke the silence. His voice was heavy with despair as he cursed the day of his birth. "Why did I not perish at birth?" he lamented. "Why is life given to those in misery?" The spirited debate Job's friends, though well-meaning, began to argue that his suffering must be a punishment for sin. "Consider this," Eliphaz said, his tone firm but compassionate. "Who that was innocent ever perished? You must seek God and repent." But Job knew he had done nothing to deserve such anguish. "Even now," he cried, my witness is in heaven. I will argue my case before him." The debate grew heated as Bildad and Zophar also accused Job of wrongdoing. Job steadfast maintained his innocence. He questioned why the wicked often prosper while the righteous suffer. God's response. Amid the storm of questions, a whirlwind arose, and God spoke. His voice was like thunder, shaking the earth. "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation?" God asked. "Have you ever given orders to the morning or shown the dawn its place?" God's words painted vivid pictures of his creation, the oceans held back by his command, the constellations adorning the night sky, the untamed beasts roaming the wilderness. Job was left awestruck, his arguments silenced. "I am unworthy," Job confessed. "I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know." Restoration and joy. God rebuked Job's friends for their misrepresentation and instructed them to offer sacrifices. Job, in his humility, prayed for them, and God accepted his prayer. Then God restored Job's fortunes, doubling all he had lost. His flocks and herds multiplied, his house was rebuilt, and he was blessed with 7 more sons and 3 daughters, the most beautiful in the land. Job lived to see 4 generations, his life marked by peace and prosperity. This is the story of Job, a tale of unwavering faith in the face of unimaginable suffering, of the mysteries of God's purposes and of the hope that comes with trusting in his ultimate justice.